I just came back from the United States of America where I won the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and it's actually a very keenly contested fellowship. 11,000 people applied and 56 of us were chosen. So that's one thing Greensprings does. It makes you stand out whatever competition. It gives you a competitive edge over your peers. Wow, interesting question. If I'm going to relate it in terms of information, I think I would say I'm a hunter, like hunt for information, hunt for things, hunt for ideas, hunt for opportunities and all. I would say Simi, because I like Simi's music. It reaches to the soul. My role model was, when she was alive, Dora Akunyili, because I believed in what she stood for, being in the health sector, a health professional, and knowing the dangers of fake drugs and the way she fought against this, even at the expense of her life. I would say that indeed she's a role model to me. Drugs are actually linked to what we do. We see the end products of people that have used fake drugs in the hospital, and at that time it was alarming when you see a child die from malaria because of using fake anti-malarial drugs. And this was a woman, despite the challenges around her and despite all the obstacles and constraints, she was able to rise above it and fight against all the importers of fake and substandard drugs. So indeed, I think she's a role model. I've always had a passion for medicine, even growing up. Even when I was in Greensprings, the foundation that was laid here was actually very strong and tilted me a bit towards the sciences. Moving on to secondary school also, I found out that I really enjoyed the sciences, especially biology. And because of my passion for lives and all, it interested me in studying medicine. And I felt like, okay, this is a field where I'll be able to impact a lot of lives. So that's why I settled for medicine. I love reading novels. I love immersing myself into the characters in the novels. I love watching movies as well, so reading novels and watching movies. Success actually inspires me because anytime I see anything that appears to be like a challenge, I think of the end result and achieving success. It motivates me to actually want to do more and put my best into what I do. I think a lot of people know me for being a public health physician and someone that likes to educate the public. So I'm usually on TV, you see me on TV shows, you see me in the news trying to educate. Anytime there's an outbreak, I go out there, try to educate as many people as possible. So a lot of people know me for my passion for talking. Like anytime we're having any presentation, I'm always out there talking about pertinent health issues in the country and solutions to these health problems. Because I work 8 to 5, I would like to be there more involved in my son's activities in school. For example, when they call parents to come for this, or be involved in maybe like an arts and crafts special thing at 1 p.m. and odd hour of the day. But because I'm a doctor, it's sometimes hard to fit that into my schedule. So I would wish, if I could have like a more flexible job that would give me time to partake in a lot of school activities. 16-year-old is actually a very critical time because it's at that time you're actually charting your path to either success or failure, and that's the time where you're molding your future, because from 16 you're probably moving on to either A-levels or you're going into the university, and that's when you're charting the course for your life. So at that time, I would say as a 16-year-old, you're already an adolescent, you're a teenager, your parents are still there to guide you. However, by 16, you should know what you have an interest in and what you really want to do. You're discovering yourself. It's okay to discover yourself and make mistakes along the way and get back up and get back on your feet. You are still allowed at that point in time. So I would say do not take life too hard at that point in time. Be focused, but also you're allowed to make mistakes. One of them, top of my head, which is actually really worrisome, is a high maternal mortality rate. A lot of women are dying from preventable causes of pregnancy, and this shouldn't be so. Many countries have moved way beyond this, and this is because women are not having access to skilled healthcare providers. So one of the policy would be to ensure that all our primary healthcare centers have at least a skilled attendant, such that anytime a pregnant woman comes in, she doesn't have to die an unnecessary death. I had 2 close friends. One was Oyinda Oshunawa, the other one was Busola Ogushola. And there was a time that we had like we sort of like fought, and I started crying, and we're walking past. Mrs. Koiki was in her office at that time, and she spotted that these three people, because everybody knew us as very close friends, these three people, there's something wrong, and she called us into our office. I was already crying, so she now asked what happened. By the time we narrated what happened to her, she was like, and that's why you're crying? And she even made us cry, and the three of us just started crying. So I think that was also memorable, because we stayed friends even after Greensprings. Another memorable thing, even though it was slightly negative, that I remember, because of where Greensprings was located and our access to the express, we had Shino Rambo, who used to terrorize the environment a lot around that time. So I remember anytime we hear that Shino Rambo is here, everybody is called out of our classroom, that we all have to like bend and all. So that happened during my time in Greensprings. Shino Rambo was like an armed robber that used to snatch cars. So it was very notorious in the 90s. And the food was good, yes. Oh yes, I have failed, because life is actually a journey. Life is not smooth all the time. So even though, because of the solid foundation I had in Greensprings, secondary school was a breeze. So I was actually a high flyer in secondary school, and I'm someone that anytime I write any exam, I pass immediately, and I not just pass with flying colors. So I was already used to that. And I think even in university, because I graduated top of my class in medical school as well, so I was already too comfortable. So when I had to take like an external exam that was not national, my very first attempt at it, I failed, and it was devastating, because when you're not used to failure, you haven't been exposed to failure, and you suddenly fail at an older when you're much older, it's actually very, very painful. So that was devastating. But I was able to rise back on my feet. I didn't let that hold me down. I wasn't discouraged. The next time I had to apply for the exam, I applied for the exam, put in more preparation, and I succeeded in it. Because I did my elementary in Greensprings, and elementary is very critical in your academic and your career life, because it's actually the foundation. Even if you go to a bad primary or elementary school and try to make up for it in secondary or university, it's not the same, because the foundation has to be strong. And because I came to Greensprings, it prepared me for life after primary school. When I was living in Greensprings, I think I was 9 or 10, approaching my adolescent years. And it's the adolescent years where you're confused, there's peer pressure, there are moral issues surrounding your values. But because I was in Greensprings, and Greensprings had already prepared me for that, I wasn't exposed to negative peer pressure in secondary school. It helped me maintain my high flyer status, which I took on to secondary, university, and even life after university. Quality education, to me, it's not all about the cost of the school fees, for instance. Some people mix the cost of school fees and said, oh, I'm paying so amount, therefore I believe that the education should be quality. Quality education, to me, involves everything in the school environment, starting from the curriculum, the teachers, even the peers, the other schoolmates in the school, the learning environment, everything all together. I think they all play their role into defining what we can say is quality education. In Greensprings, I no doubt had a quality education. First of all, the environment was very conducive for learning. At that time, I think we were one of the first schools that had air conditioning system in our classrooms, and we're one of the first schools then that had very few number of the teacher students ratio was actually very good. So we're maybe like 15. Initially we were a big class, but it splits us into 3, so I could have fewer students in each class. So each student then had a direct interaction with the various teachers. And our curriculum then, it wasn't just the Nigerian curriculum. We're exposed to the Nigerian curriculum, while at that time they had started introducing the British curriculum as well into what we're learning. So they were preparing us for the future. They were preparing us to be global scholars, not just local champions. So I would say that was a quality education. Being a healthcare professional, I would like to be remembered for someone that made giant strides towards reducing maternal mortality in Nigeria, because that's a major issue. A lot of our women are dying from pregnancy and pregnancy-related causes, and this shouldn't be so. This information is to all members of the alumni body, or even if you're not yet a registered member, everybody that went to Greensprings. Once you come to Greensprings, either elementary or high school, you become an alumni. So this message is actually to you. If you haven't joined the alumni network, I would then join you to actually come and join this wonderful body of alumni of Greensprings School. There are many benefits that can be accrued to this, and one of it top of my head, which I remember, is that the wonderful experience that you had as a Greensprings student or a Greensprings scholar, you can actually pass that on to your children. And there's also an alumni subsidy. There's subsidy for children of alumni, so you don't pay the actual fees, you get a good discount, and I can assure you and tell you that that discount is actually a good one and totally worth it. So indeed, the alumni body is the body which you should actually belong to. Apart from the discount, you might say, oh, I'm not even married or I don't have children yet, but you belong to a network of professionals, a network of people that had access to the same quality education that you had. And with this networking, you know what can come out from networking? Opportunities are bound. You can collaborate and do great things for your nation and great things to even in the business world, wherever, as an alumni of Greensprings School. So to join the alumni body, you can just click the link below.